peace that surpasses all understanding. Pretty heavy subject matter today, and it is not, it is not my intention to offend or trigger or yell fire in a movie theater, or that is not my intention. But I had an experience yesterday, not unlike many others that I've had. But it was so clear. It was like a culmination point, moment of awareness, deep awareness. Like, oh, I get it. Number of years ago, I'll get to yesterday's on some level, but a number of years ago, I remember walking into a store, and there was a woman who was older than me, and she was carrying a purse, and we were walking into a store, and I opened the door for her, and her knee-jerk reflex reaction was to kind of clutch her purse as if, like I'm gonna. It was completely fear-based, and it really kicked me in the gut. I was like, whoa, she's afraid of me. And going to yesterday's experience, I've had a professional relationship with this female, professional relationship, and due to all the nonsense going on in the world, we were going to, shall we say, have a session at my home, and she canceled. Now, this would have been the first time that she had come to my home, and in the course of the exchange, the conversation, my intuition kicked in, my sense of feeling kicked in, and what I was feeling was her feeling vulnerable, her feeling scared, her feeling very uneasy about coming to my home, even though we've had sessions before, but it was in her space, it was in her office, it was in her studio, it was in a comfortable, familiar space for her. There was a lot of fear, okay? And I understand. I don't like it, but I understand it. Now, the point that I'm trying to get to is take a breath, Scott. Take a breath. And it went out. When I consider all of the female relationships that I've had in my life, you get to a certain point, and I don't mean intimate sexually, but where a woman that I grow in learning about, or a friendship, an acquaintance, at some point or another, they have expressed, and I'm talking virtually every single one of them, at some point or another, they begin to feel comfortable in my presence, and I'm very grateful for that. But they let, the wall comes down a little bit, and virtually in every single occurrence, they will express that they themselves have had some sort of traumatic, abusive, sexual, violent experience at the hands of a man. I'm not kidding, guys. Every single one. And this goes back not only to people that women, ladies, that I've encountered in my adult life, but when I look back on my grandmother, my mother, my sisters, it's just, guys, it's fucking pervasive. Why are all of our women traumatized? It's not their fucking fault. It's not women traumatizing women, it's men traumatizing women. And let me tell you, you know, from my point of view, from a male perspective on this, every time I encounter a woman, she's afraid of me. That's the first fucking reaction. That's the first reaction. That's the first response. Can I trust this guy? This guy's a predator. Opening the door for that woman, her clutching her purse. This experience that I had yesterday, you know, where someone doesn't feel comfortable in my presence, you know, or you know, it's sad, you guys. It's sad. What have we done? What have we done? And this is a we thing, you know. I have no recollection, at least in my personal experience, where I overtly took something that didn't belong to me. Okay, and I'm being polite, but there is I've never taken something that wasn't mine. However, and I'll use this as the example. I was married twice. My first wife, the man that she was with prior, she was in a long-term relationship with the man prior to meeting me. He was abusive. Okay? So years later, she and I got together, fell in love, and we were having a romantic, intimate, sexual evening. We were married. And during our lovemaking, she freaked out. I said or did or something within her was triggered. Did I do anything specific? You know, no. But that experience that she had with the abusive former boyfriend, and it was abusive. You know, it was a very unhealthy relationship, and she had an experience during our romantic evening together, and I would liken it to a flashback. You know, she and I remember her like, oh, like no. You know, and I'm like, what? You know, what? What's wrong? You know? And, you know, strangely enough, now that wounding, long story short, after we processed it, it came out, you know, and it didn't come out right away. It took probably about a month for that experience to be fully processed between her and I as a husband and wife, but her personally being able to come to the conclusion that what had happened was she had a memory reaction, a memory response, you know, being intimate with me, her husband, and having a flashback to an experience that she had with this very abusive guy. It sucks. It sucks, man. I can't believe, you know, well, do I have a choice to believe it or not? Very sad. Yesterday was the turning point. After experiencing that, where this person, this female professional, had to cancel this appointment, it really just, it drove it home, and very sad. I felt, I was sad, like, because it was so clear in my mind. I look back, now my childhood, I look back on my childhood, and let's just put it this way, it would be very easy for me to play the victim. I have a lot of good material, and the person, my mother, we're talking, right? My mother was very abusive toward me, and now it would be very easy for me. There's somebody out there who just, when you're pointing fingers, remember you got 3 pointing back at you. But it would be very easy for me to assign blame to my mother. Look what this, right? Why was my mother like that? Why? What was so damaged in here that she could only react to her environment? She couldn't respond. She couldn't be still. She couldn't be quiet. She couldn't. Why? Why was she like that? I'll give you 2 guesses, but you're only going to need one. Prior to her meeting my father, she had gotten married. I have a stepsister. My eldest sister is a stepsister from my mother's first marriage. And that man was deeply, deeply abusive. Not to mention the fact that my biological grandfather, now I need to get this straight. My biological grandfather was my mother's. So, my mother and grandmother came from North Dakota, an Indian reservation, and my biological grandfather sired my grandmother. My mother's father was actually my grandmother's father. Does that make sense? Okay. Huge abuse, sexual abuse, physical abuse, you name it, man. So there's a lineage of this abuse. And I got to a certain point in my life where I'm like, that's it, man. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's it. I didn't realize what I was doing in the moment, but I'm like, I'm not going to have kids. I was 35 years old. I was single, and I'm like, I knew something up here wasn't quite right, about my perspective about children and what I had to offer inside, and I had a vasectomy when I was 35 and I was single. I was absolutely convinced that I didn't want to have children. That's part of my lineage. But in that, I didn't realize that at that moment that I was trying to break my own cycle. I can see that now. But my grandmother, Native American woman, half French Canadian, half Native American, because of her heritage being interracial, she was not welcome into the tribe, and she was also not welcomed into the family dynamic of my grandfather, the French Canadian. So she ended up in a monastery, a Catholic monastery. An unwanted child. So anyway, she had a pretty substantial background in Catholicism, the Bible study, all that stuff. Right? And I remember her telling me a story, and it really threw me for a loop. You know, we've all heard the Adam and Eve story, and I think, you know, from my perspective, this is where a lot of the bullshit began. All right. We all have this. This was like the first time that we took women and we squashed them. They were abused right from the start. That they're small and men are big. That men are in control and women are submissive. The story goes that the serpent tempted Eve. She took a bite of the apple, or whatever, however that story translates to you. So Eve was weak. And she was tempted, and then not only did she bite the apple, she tempted Adam with it. And look what women did, right? Who was in the garden first? Adam. Adam was in the garden first. Adam had experience in the garden. He had been there for a really long time, long enough for God to recognize that he was lonely. We all know the story. Now, after some deeper investigation into this, it's been my experience that a lot of this stuff that I've read in the Bible and other places, there's a pretty big spin on the way the Bible has been interpreted by men. Males. Guys, I'm going to give you, your girlfriend, your wife, your sister, your mother is being, there's the serpent going after your girl, right? What would you do? You'd protect her from the serpent, wouldn't you? Adam dropped the ball, okay? Adam dropped the ball. He wasn't doing his job, and instead of him owning it, or us as a male species, us owning, dropping that ball, man, we didn't take care of our woman. We didn't watch out for her. We didn't protect her. We didn't help her. And that's a way that I perceive the male-female. The woman is the creator, the man is the helper. How does she create? With the help of the man, and it's a symbiotic relationship. And we drop the ball as the male of the species. And then what do? We blame her for it. Sound familiar? She's a bitch. She's this. She's that. Guys, right here, man. Right here. We're the helpers. We drop the ball. Fast forward back to present day, I'm sad. I'm sad. How many times have I encountered a woman and they're afraid of me? Look at you. You look like a grizzly bear. No, guys. Women have this knee-jerk reaction. If there's a guy, he wants something, and usually, the mindset is sex. Heaven forbid that a guy would do something benevolent, something kind, something generous, something thoughtful, something considerate without expectation of sex. Or take something that doesn't belong to him. It's something that's shared, not taken. It's something creative, not visceral. I mean, it can be. Anyway, male perspective, you know. Guys, we gotta do some work in here, you know. We gotta do some work in here about how we've been programmed, you know. This isn't about picking on the ladies. This is about us looking at who we are and how we're raised, and the lineage, the damage that was done to us, by us, through us. What we're taught is acceptable, and the roles that we play in society, it's fucked up, you know. It's really, it's backwards. It's upside down and backwards. And I have my theories about why and how and where that comes from, but that's irrelevant for this conversation. As men, we need to look at ourselves and discover what it is within us. You know, we're always like seeking, you know, we're always seeking outside, you know, find the right relationship with the right woman, the right kind of woman, but based on the programming that we're taught in this upside down, fucked up, backwards world. The answer we're looking for, that relationship that we're looking for as men, exists within us. It doesn't exist between her legs. It exists in your heart, in your soul, in your gut. It exists in your intuition. The only way that we're going to find that is to look inward. We're not going to find it in a relationship, you know. And I've been very fortunate to have some very strong, some very powerful women who who have been hurt and damaged, and they see through the veil, they see through it, and they've shared a lot of their experiences with me. I've had some truly, divine, strong women in my life, you know. And initially, I was a little intimidated, you know, but I'm like, there's something here, there, you know, and the learning that you know, it's in here, guys. It's in here, not there. Don't sell yourself short. you know, the thinking with the two heads, you know. Think from the heart, you know. The thing that, you know, it's like we're selling ourselves short if that's what we think. That 15 minutes of bliss and the orgasm that follows, spreading our seed, you're selling yourself short, because there is an experience. We are all divine beings. We are all divine beings. And she is a divine being. You are a divine being. And that experience that you're looking for, I'm not suggesting that sex isn't real or procreative or whatever, you know, but that genuine connection, we've sold out as men. We've sold out and said that's as good as it's going to get. When we start looking inside and we realize that divine, amazing experience that we've experienced with a woman, that we can begin to understand and have that experience within ourselves, that there's a union within ourselves, male and female alike, that there has been something that has been ripped from us, taken from us, that there is a reunion that can and will occur if we start looking inward. I'm not there yet, but I'll tell you, man, you know, that my perspective has definitely changed, you know, and my relationships, you know, I remember, and whatever, I got sober in 2001, and I remember my sponsor. He said, okay, here's your big book, I want you to open up the first page. And he said, write your wish list. He said, it doesn't matter how ridiculous it may sound. He said, this is your dream sheet. This is what you want to see for your life. And I wrote down a whole bunch of stuff. Most of it was bullshit. It had a lot to do with materialism, money, success, whatever. But one of the big ones that I wrote down was to have a healthy relationship with a woman. A truly healthy relationship. Now, in that moment, I know what I was thinking. I was thinking about a loving, romantic relationship. The universe has a sense of humor. But here we are, 20 years later, and that relationship that I was looking for, I began to find those relationships as I went inward, and I started to heal that union of male and female within myself. All of a sudden, well, maybe not all of a sudden, it took a buttload of pain and a lot of work to look at myself. The relationships that started appearing in my reality, I'm like, wow, she's really cool. She's really cool. And there were these strong, powerful, compassionate, healthy women appearing in my life as friends, as acquaintances. Start here, guys. Start here. Start here. The thing you're looking for is here, not with her. Find that. Find that first, and then everything else will kind of fall into place. But until then, be fucking kind. Be kind. Your mom, your sister, chances are, dude, she's probably been hurt. Be kind. Be kind. Be kind to every. Be kind to yourself. But be aware, man. That we live in a society where it's almost permissive, and it's not addressed. It's not addressed. I'm not a feminist. I'm a guy. I'm just seeing things a little different than the programming that we're taught as little boys and little girls, and the roles that we play, and what is and isn't permissive, what is and isn't acceptable. This is what you should strive for. I wish you all a peace that surpasses understanding. Be excellent to each other. Be excellent to each other. And start with yourself. Start with yourself. Look inward. The rest will fall into place. I'm out.